Hey guys, Becca Scoops here. How you doing on Saturday? Saturday. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. We've got a quick video we wanted to make about something that Rod Blanchard, the father of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, ended up over on a TikTok panel and he had something to say. Part of it was, y'all are jealous. You're jealous, or that must be why all of the haters are jealous. I'm not a hater, and we're going to get into that. We're also going to answer a lot of the questions Rod Blanchard had. This video, let me just bring this up. Got from the GRB Snark is where I found it. Fancy birthday, 3:15. Last night I recorded it. This is from about 8 to 10 hours ago. The link I used was from Acts of Janice post. So shout out to Fancy Birthday, GRB Snark, and Acts of Janice. So we appreciate that. So appreciate the use of this video. All right. So Rod ended up on a panel and he had some questions. So let's just get to it. Let's just see what he had to say and what his take was on the haters. Let's go ahead and get into it.
So I just read a note that I wrote. You'll hear me now, right?
Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, just some questions I had for all the haters. You know, if their story is that everything can be explained from the micro deletion, and Dee Dee was actually a good mother. You know, some simple questions like, why was she in a wheelchair? And these are
All right, I want to stop it there for a moment and address something he said. Okay, the first thing he's saying, if they say that Dee Dee was such a good mother. Now, you guys know that I have been talking about this issue and how this issue was going to come up the closer we get to exposing all of this to the mainstream media. And that if we don't tell the exact truth of the matter, we're going to get bombarded with something like what Rod Blanchard is saying. Well, you guys say Dee Dee was a great mother. She was a good mother. Everyone's parenthood can be questioned. No one's the perfect parent, that's for sure, right? And I have said we need to be careful because we need to tell the whole truth, and that is that Dee Dee was running a medical con, that she wasn't exactly truthful about Gypsy Rose's conditions. And the main thing he's going to bring up is her being in the wheelchair. And I'm going to go over that. But I wanted to show you guys how he's assuming that maybe there are some people out there saying, oh, she was the perfect mother. I don't think Dee Dee was all good or all bad. None of us are all good or all bad. She had this medical con going on, and we've talked at length about the reasons why we believe it came to that after Katrina. Even prior to Katrina, there was some issues with some truthfulness about Gypsy. The point is that it's a complex situation, and we, meaning the Becca Scoops channel, has never, ever said we thought Dee Dee was this stellar mom, this mom of the year. I'm not mom of the year. I mean, no, we're not saying that. There are issues, and we've addressed those issues at length. So I just wanted to pause it there and make that point. Okay, let's go on to what he had to say.
their story is that everything can be explained from the micro deletion, and Dee Dee was actually a good mother. You know, some simple questions like, why was she in a wheelchair? And these are all questions that you don't even need to do a lot of research and go read all the medical records and all this stuff. Just some simple questions. Why was she in a wheelchair since 5 or 6 years old and made to stay in the wheelchair? Why take biopsies on her legs?
Okay, going to address both of those right here. Some say that Gypsy was in the wheelchair, that she had some muscle problems. There was one test where it said that she had some hypotonia. That's low muscle mass. Gypsy could walk. There's no doubt about that. You cannot say Gypsy could not walk because she can walk. Okay. So the wheelchair is an issue that I think it was also used as a prop in this medical con. Okay. But his other thing that he said, the micro deletion can explain all of the procedures. Yeah, it pretty much well can. And I'm going to go into that right now. So I think he said about the muscle biopsy. Right. The muscle biopsy. Let's get into the muscle biopsy. Okay. But before we get into the muscle biopsy, we have to understand some things about gyps, how the microdeletion manifested in Gypsy Rose, meaning the symptoms of the microdeletion vary from patient to patient. So the presentation is not always the same. It's very specific to each patient. Got it? I believe it's my opinion, okay, it's my opinion that Gypsy's manifested primarily in her digestive tract, also called the GI tract. What is the GI tract? Let's start with that. Okay. So what makes up the GI tract is the pathway that food travels through the body, and it includes the mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. Also, this tube also includes associated organs like the liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and salivary glands. Okay, let's remember that now. So now you got that. It's my contention, my personal opinion, that Gypsy's manifested in the GI tract, and I'm going to back that up by the procedures that we know she had. All right. Number one, Rod is questioning, why get a muscle biopsy? Good question. All right. So the muscle biopsy was done to rule out muscular dystrophy. They knew at birth, because of the microcephaly and the breathing problems and some of the feeding problems she was having, that she had a genetic chromosomal disorder. The doctors knew that at birth. They knew that, okay, based on her head size. Something genetic on the chromosomal level was wrong. Remember, the thing that Gypsy is ultimately diagnosed with, the microdeletion, is unknown of until 2008, and Gypsy doesn't get diagnosed with that until 2011. So when Gypsy's born, nobody in the whole world knows what this is, okay? But they know it's something with the chromosomes. And so muscular dystrophy is something that is genetic with the chromosomes. So here we said, the question, is muscular dystrophy a genetic chromosomal disorder? Yes, muscular dystrophy is genetic or inherited disorder caused by abnormalities in genes that are located on chromosomes. Okay. Now, Rod's question. Is a muscle biopsy used to diagnose muscular dystrophy? Yes, a muscle biopsy can be used to diagnose muscular dystrophy, although it is less common now than in the past due to advances in genetic testing. Gypsy's test was in 2001. 2001. So now we know it was done over 20 years ago. So obviously, at that point, 20 years ago, as it says here in this answer, it is less common now than in the past. So 20 years ago is pretty much in the past, and that's why they did the muscle biopsy. Okay? I think we fully have covered that now and answered that question. Let's go on to see what else he has to say.
Why remove her salivary glands?
It's very true.
Why remove her salivary glands? Another good question. Now, remember what I said about the GI tract and that the salivary glands are part of the GI tract, right? The salivary glands are part of the GI tract, all right? What about issues with salivary glands? Okay, when it comes to this 1Q21.1 microdeletion syndrome, it says hypersalivation. One report about a public figure with the syndrome noted hypersalivation as an early symptom. That person is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So they're talking about Gypsy Rose here. Full disclosure, the person underwent salivary gland. The next point is, because salivary glands are essential for oral function and swallowing, any dysfunction could exacerbate dysphagia. That means trouble swallowing. We know, based on Gypsy's medical records, that she had issues. She had swallow studies in the hospital. At one point, she's spitting everything up. And so what they concluded was the excessive salivation in her mouth was causing this. At first, they tried Botox treatments to try to calm down the salivary glands. And after that didn't completely work, they went ahead and removed a few salivary glands. We have thousands of salivary glands. So it's not like Gypsy doesn't have saliva. She does. Okay, but that's why I contend that happened. Okay, let's move on to what else he has to say.
Forge her birth certificate. If she was such a good mother, why would you do that? I mean, that's just some simple things.
Okay. My take on the birth certificates is that Dee Dee was running a medical con, and and she didn't start really doing that until after Gypsy got to Missouri and started to be in her teens and late teens. And because Dee Dee was counting on these children's charities to get help, the external rewards, she started lowering Gypsy's age. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. Okay. Let's move on from that. He's saying that makes her a bad mom. It makes her a dishonest person. I don't know, bad mom. I think she was trying to use that lowering her age to get the things that they needed. So I guess it's a question of morality. What would you do to help your kid? Would you lower their age? I'm not, you make up your own mind. Okay, so let's go on to what else Rod Blanchard had to say.
Right. Yeah, she does have a microdeletion. There are symptoms. And some of her things, her eyes being crossed, might have something to do with the microdeletion. Some people say it doesn't. But take all of the facts, not just some of the things you can validate, all the facts regarding abuse. I don't care what y'all want to call it. Y'all can call it Munchausen's by proxy or whatever, or malingering. It doesn't matter. That's just a technical
Oh, but it does matter. And
term.
he said a technical term. Munchausen by proxy is a diagnosis. It's a diagnosis. It's not just a medical term. It's a diagnosis. Okay. So when you're going to wrongly diagnose somebody with something, especially in this case, there are serious ramifications. Let's go on and see what else he had to say.
Right.
By the way, I think Rod believes all this, what he's saying. I just don't think he is educated enough on the situation to understand it. And of course, the people that he has around him are the people that are informing him. So he hasn't maybe heard all of the things I'm going over in this video.
At the end of the day, it was abuse, and how they cannot see that
It's mind-boggling.
Gypsy was just in a position of complete helplessness after being held like that.
When she was a 23-year-old woman, she was not in complete helplessness. We saw she left the house, went to the hospital to see her paramour at the time, Dan Glidewell. She was all over the internet contacting many men. So she had ways. She wasn't completely helpless. She wasn't like a little baby at that point. Okay, let's go on. But I agree that, growing up, was this the best and most healthy environment? No, of course not. I see that. I think it's due to I think it's a lot of convergence of a lot of different issues that happened in Dee Dee's life that contributed to the outcome. And sadly, it contributed to her demise. She's the victim, not Gypsy. She's the victim. Is Gypsy a victim? Well, potentially of some of those things that her mom had her do at an early age. But I can say potentially because I don't know the whole story. When I mean I don't know the whole story, I mean when Gypsy was in school, were there issues at the school? Were there behavioral issues? I don't know. So I can't have an opinion on that part of it. But maybe you could, Rod, but I don't think you were there either. So that's the other problem. The person that really can answer it is Gypsy. I don't think she's ever been completely honest about the situation. Obviously, she hasn't. And the other person is Dee Dee, and she was murdered. All right, let's move on.
For so many years, and they can't sympathize, and they just want to blame her and say she was in on the scam, and there's evidence that she was in on the scam. Well, of course, that's all she was trained to do and forced to do all of her life. So
her whole life.
It's just astounding that people, and that's why I say I can't understand why anybody can hate on her so much. I get it.
I don't hate on her for the situation that she was in with her mother. I don't really hate her at all. I think she's got a lot of issues and that she's made a lot of mistakes based on a lot of people around her and her own narcissism that made her want to be an advocate and all this crazy thing to come out of prison and to be convicted of murder and then to come out and think she's going to be some influencer. I think all of you were enriched in some degree. I don't think you're multimillionaires by any stretch of the imagination, but I think a lot of you around Gypsy got some monetary, you were rewarded monetarily based on this track that she decided to go down. Melissa Moore is also to blame for that, to not find out exactly who Gypsy was and to just assume that she was a mentally healthy person that murdered her mother, I guess. Anyways, let's go on and see what else he has to say. I'm not a hater of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I just want the truth out.
They might be a little jealous and all, but really, if that's really how you feel, what if that would?
I don't know anyone that's jealous of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. What's there to be jealous of? I don't understand that statement. Jealous of her. It's an odd statement.
Be your family or somebody you knew that had to go through all of that. Would you feel the same way? And it's just, I think it's just jealousy. I think, I don't want to throw any names out there, but I think it just kind of started from one person and just, she found a little slither of something that she can, say, turn the story around, and that's it, But anyway, thanks for listening. That's all.
He does say some other things, but I want to go over some other things here to further educate Rod and other people that have the same opinion as him that Gypsy had all these unnecessary procedures. Okay. From Gypsy's own diagram, this is from her book, okay? She identifies her surgical or medical procedures, all right? Number 1, the salivary glands. Number 2, the feeding tube. Laparoscopic procedure called a Nissan fundoplication. That's number 3. And number 4 is the muscle biopsy. What do all of these things have in common? Salivary glands, the feeding tube, the Nissan fundoplication, which is number 3, and number 4, the muscle biopsy. Well, 1, 2, and 3, and let's include her dental. Remember she had teeth issues. I'm going to get into that in a minute. 1, 2, and 3 all are GI tract issues, the digestive tract issues. This is from her own book, This is her own drawing. Of course, I explained the muscle biopsy, why that had to happen. Okay. Now, what about Gypsy's G-tube? What about it? GI tract issues associated with the 1Q21.1 microdeletion, such as poor feeding and gastroparesis, sometimes require a gastrostomy tube, a G-tube, to ensure adequate nutrition. However, the severity of symptoms, including the GI problems, is highly variable among individuals with this condition. But we can see the procedures that she had, starting with the salivary glands, having the G-tube placed at about, I think, 7 or 8 years old, having the Nissan fundoplication. What is that? That helps with this heartburn. Here's the explanation of that. Individuals, this is why she had to have that laparoscopic procedure. 1Q21.1 microdeletion syndrome may experience GI issues, including gastroesophageal reflux disease, also known as GERD, for which a Nissan fundoplication can be a treatment option. It is important to note that Nissan fundoplication is not a treatment for the genetic syndrome itself, but rather a surgical procedure to manage one of its potential symptoms. So, if Dee Dee was this mastermind that was just trying to make Gypsy ill, and but she had no idea what the microdeletion was. So when all of these procedures happened, they happened between the years 2001 to 2004. 2001 to 2004. They don't even know, the medical community doesn't even know what this microdeletion is until 2008. So how was Dee Dee, was she like psychic? And was she so smart, even if obviously she didn't know what it was, but isn't it interesting that all of the procedures Gypsy gets are associated with her GI tract, which is one of the main issues with this microdeletion, how it can present, how it can manifest in patients. There's no doubt. There's no doubt anymore that she didn't have Munchausen by proxy. She was running a medical con job, scam. She didn't induce any of these illnesses, all these symptoms. Rather, the illness was the microdeletion. These are procedures to treat the symptoms of that microdeletion. It's not really complicated when you start thinking about it. It really isn't. All right. Let's get into the dental. What about dental issues? People with 1Q21 microdeletion may have craniofacial and dental differences. These can include, and Gypsy has that, the high arch palate, the roof of the mouth is unusually high, widely spaced teeth, a greater than normal space exists between teeth in the dental arc, dental abnormalities. Cause studies have noted dental problems involving the size, shape, and form of the teeth. Early tooth eruption. Some children with this deletion have had their adult teeth erupt. Now, that doesn't talk, so there are some dental issues. My take on how her teeth were rotting were a couple of different things. First, from the GERD, from the acid reflux coming up into her mouth. That acid is in the mouth. It starts wearing away at the teeth. Okay. Secondly, she was known to drink a bottle until she murdered her mom. She talks about it. But I think basically the problem was she had this microdeletion that causes this high arch, the widely spaced teeth, the teeth erupting too soon, and then the GERD happening with the acid reflux into the mouth, and it caused the dental decay that she had. Dentist isn't going to remove all those teeth if they're healthy. They can't. It's unheard of. And no, that's not going to happen. All right. Rod says a couple other things. Let's finish up with what he has to say.
I have more, but I can't figure out how to use TikTok. So.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm sorry you went through all that.
Thank you.
And we'll always stand by Gypsy because it's all true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they can't see
Thank y'all
that.
for y'all support. I think y'all are all reasonable and sympathetic people, and apparently good people as well. Thank y'all for y'all support.
I'm a sympathetic person, almost to a fault at sometimes, I've been told. Yeah, I have issue with scruples, meaning I sometimes just like feel bad about stuff, saying stuff about people. I'm a sympathetic person. So, to assume that anyone that is searching for the truth in this situation isn't a sympathetic person that's not right. That's not right to say. Um, we have sympathy, especially for the victim, Dee Dee Blanchard.
Um, I really believe she's got a lot more support than haters. I mean, the loud ones always you see them first, but I really don't think there's a million people, or a lot of hate towards her. I really don't. Most people we meet.
Most people believe the mainstream media and aren't into the case, aren't researching the case. They just assume the Hulu version, the documentaries that were backed and, co-produced basically by the Blanchards, Mommy Dead and Dearest, all of those things. Um, so people don't know. People assume that she was heinously and horrifically abused. And the gray issue is Dee Dee running the medical con and what level of emotional abuse would that have had on Gypsy? Some people say none, that she became the accomplice. I know she became an accomplice. Of course she did. Of course she knew. Is it right to judge her for that? I don't know, but I know she murdered her mom. So I judge her on that. No matter the things that she's talking about, this potential medical con Dee Dee started to run, and the reason she started to run it, and Gypsy did become an accomplice, obviously. I'm not gonna judge her on that. I'm gonna judge her on the murder of her mom, and that she didn't do it because she felt she was being abused. She did it because she wanted to run around with guys, and her mom was putting a stop to that. That fits the criminal pattern of these cases where you see young women in their teens, possibly early 20s like Gypsy, that have a partner and get the partner to kill her parents. The pattern is they end up to be these narcissistic psychopaths who want their parents out of the way because of control issues. That's the criminal pattern, not Munchausen by proxy, because we know that this is the only case, if you believe it's Munchausen by proxy, where the so-called victim, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, murdered the so-called perpetrator of Munchausen, Dee Dee. There's never been any other case like that in the criminal history. So, since criminology is a science, it's a study, where's the pattern? Why doesn't this fit the pattern? So, am I to assume that of all the cases, this is the only one that fits that pattern? That doesn't fit the pattern, I mean? Or does it fit the pattern of these other girls and women that do this with the partner because they end up being malignant narcissist, suffering from antisocial personality disorder, and they're in jail for life. All of them are in jail for life. I have done in my other videos, I've presented the different cases to illustrate how this is the same thing, in my humble opinion. All right.
or all the people we meet. I mean, she meets. I've never met anybody that was disrespectful to us, or her, or
How about the billboard?
anything like that. So I think it's just all for sure to maybe make some money. It's their prerogative, free speech. Let it rip.
Well, we're here for all of you.
Yeah, we just want them to know the truth. So,
What truth? What are you talking
Y'all doing a
about?
good job. I'll listen to y'all for a little while. I never listened to y'all before. I didn't know where y'all from or anything like that. But it sounds like y'all were doing a decent job of.
Now, this just happened in the last 48 hours. Okay. What's today's date? August 30th. Okay. So in the last 48 hours, he decided that he had to go on TikTok. I guess, I don't know. I haven't confirmed that this was posted also by Christy. I'm sure Christy was pushing him to get on this, to speak out. Why now? What's going on that Rod felt that he needed to come and call out the so-called haters? And he thinks he's bringing a slice of truth when he doesn't know that he doesn't know. That's ignorance, right? That's ignorance. I think that pretty much well wraps up. There's a little bit more, but I don't think he asked any
What
more
y'all
questions or anything.
have there. So good work. Appreciate it.
thank you.
You're welcome.
It's our pleasure.
Okay. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for coming up.
Y'all keep going. Good. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
He might not know how to go down off the panel.
I don't even know how to get out of here.
So that's it. I mean, basically, it's like a minute. I guess he's trying to get off the panel. I can sympathize with that over on TikTok. That's what he believes. That's what his Gypsy's father. I believe he believes that. I believe he is ignorant of the things that I brought out here today. That based on her own diagram, these are all GI tract, digestive tract issues. Of course, the muscle biopsy was to rule out muscular dystrophy. Even when muscular dystrophy is ruled out, because I tell the truth, Dee Dee continued to put it on, like when her list of illnesses Gypsy had. I mean, it had to be frustrating for Dee Dee because she knew that her daughter was sick, but what charitable organization can you go to when you don't even know what the disorder is? 1980 Millennial did some really good work on the Munchausen thing, and the late 90s, early 2000s, this Munchausen thing became kind of like a hot trend to talk about, and for certain experts started popping up. They're really not experts; they're self-proclaimed experts in it, and some of them did a lot of damage. And later, it came out that these parents' whole lives were destroyed by these so-called experts in Munchausen. After it was found out later, the kids taken away. They've spent their entire life savings to try to get their kid back, and then later it comes out, and then they're fully destroyed. Their family's fully destroyed. It has come out that the kid had rare disorder. That's what we're looking at here. So this is the truth, and I'm so glad that Rod decided to speak out so that I could go on the record and remind everyone that we're not haters, that we have done the research, and in our opinions, Gypsy's microdeletion does explain these medical procedures. Now, again, that doesn't give Dee Dee a free pass for some of the complex situation that she did with this medical con. I don't want to judge her harshly, but again, because I am telling the truth about everything, I speak about it. I don't deny it. I don't say she was mom of the year and had no issues. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It wasn't going to be a long one, but I thought it was important to talk about Rod, talk about what's going on, and answer some of his questions. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Becca Scoops for today. I will be going live Monday night with FBI, former FBI agent Jen Coffindaffer. Look for that notification within the next day or so, because it's going to be Monday night. What else? Oh, I think that's it. Everything else is going really well, actually. We've got some other things that are coming up that I'll talk about on the live. And thank you for all who have signed up to be in the media campaign. We're actually getting that rolling now. We've got a mailing list, so good things are happening. Oh, on my last live, I put out emails for the different reporters that were in that killer couples documentary that we watched. One of the emails to the Brea Douglas reporter, her name's Brea Douglas, isn't a working email address. I will look to see if I can find a working email address for Brea Douglas. So just hold on. Don't send anything to that email address yet. And I am going to see if I can find a working email address for the reporter Brea Douglas, who appeared in the Killer Couples documentary. And that was showcased on my last live stream, if you haven't seen that. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. You guys, you know what? I'm really excited. I think some really good things are going to be happening for the next coming weeks. I'm optimistic. And I have to thank every one of you for being on this journey with me. Actually, I'm on the journey with you. You're not on my journey. I'm on the journey of the whole community that's been researching this case. And even if you're just new to the case, welcome. Get down the rabbit hole with us. It's been fun, and we're not done. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the weekend, and see you Monday night live, or catch me on the replay. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Becca Scoops out.